Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Nur Farah Himindani Faris. So I will explain about the benefit of GST over the SST. According to World Bank Group head economist Apurva Sanghi, the GST is preferable to the SST since it burdens a country tax base and generates more income. One of GST benefits is border tax. In general, GST applies to a greater range of goods and services at various levels of the supply chain. This can result at a more comprehensive and exclusive tax base, potentially reducing the risk tag of evasion and guaranteeing that a larger share of economic activities get taxed. SST, on the other hand, frequently applies only at the final stage of the supply chain, resulting in the narrow tax base than GST. Furthermore, the other benefit of GST is tax structure simplified. GST systems are intended to be more uniform and standardized, with a single or few rates applied to diverse variety of goods and services. This will eventually ease to the use to make compliance and administration easier for both enterprises and tax authorities. On the contrary, SST system may include several rates for various types of goods and services, resulting in a more complex tax structure. Due to this complexity, administrative issues and compliance expenses may escalate upon using SST as tax-basis income. Last but not least, GST's transparency and efficiency are one of the benefits. The transparency and effectiveness of GST system can help to improve tax administration and enforcement. The systematic tracking of transactions at different levels of the supply chain can help the government monitor and collect taxes. Meanwhile, SST is focused on the final stage of the supply chain. There may be less visibility into the full manufacturing and distribution process, thereby complicating tax administration.
Moving on, I will now present the challenges of introducing GST to the nation. As we all know, GST or Goods and Services Tax was the primary form of taxation in Malaysia for many years before it was replaced by SST, which is Sales and Service Tax in 2018. While there may be some resistance to its reintroduction, there are several ways to overcome these challenges and to convince the public of its benefit. One of the primary criticism of the GST is its potential impact on the cost of the living. The tax is often considered regressive, and it disproportionately has affect low-income households who spend a larger portion of their incomes on the tax-paying goods and services. To mitigate this, policymakers need to carefully structure the tax to provide exemption for essential goods and services such as food, healthcare, and also utilities. This can help protect vulnerable population while ensuring a relatively low cost of living. Another challenge is the potential impact on businesses. Businesses that adjust their operation to comply with SST in 2018 will now need to adapt to GST once again. The transition may be smoother for larger corporations, but could be challenging for small and medium-sized enterprises. To provide support to these businesses, the government should offer tax incentive training programs and also other forms of assistance to help them navigate the new tax system. It is important to note that implementing GST requires significant legislative adjustment. This involves amending existing tax laws and introducing new regulation. There is potential for delays or complication in the legislative process, which could impede the smooth introduction of GST. To overcome these challenges, the government needs to engage in public education campaign and clear the communication about the reason for the introduction of the GST. These include explaining the economic benefit of the tax, such as increased tax revenue and also the ability to provide better public services. It's also important to address misconception about the tax and listen to the concern of taxpayer, businesses, and consumer. In conclusion, while there may be challenges in introducing the GST, it is not an insurmountable task. By taking the necessary steps to structure the tax carefully, supporting businesses through the transition, and engaging in clear communication with the public, the Malaysian government can successfully introduce the GST and reap its economic benefit. That's all from me. I will now pass this on to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you, Nufati Alia. My name is Limaza Zawaka, ID student 2022 and under Act 56. As we all know, national economic competitiveness is crucial for the growth and development of the nation. The reintroduction of Goods and Service Tax or GST has the potential to enhance national competitiveness in several ways. Firstly, GST is more efficient and transparent tax system compared to the current sales and service tax or SST. The streamlined measure of GST can reduce tax evasion and encourage a more compliant business environment. This can positively influence national attractiveness for investment as foreign investors seek stability and predictability in their tax environment. Secondly, GST eliminates cascading tax and provides input tax credits. This promotes cost efficiency for business, enabling Malaysian companies to optimize their pricing and production process. This enhanced efficiency can make them more competitive both domestically and internationally. And thirdly, a well-implemented GST system instills confidence in investors by showcasing Malaysia's commitment to a stable and transparent tax regime. This can attract foreign direct investment, leading to the growth of key industry and positively affecting the nation's competitiveness. In conclusion, the reintroduction of GST has the potential to significantly enhance Malaysia's competitiveness with its more efficient and transparent tax system, input tax credit, and improve investor confidence. GST can pave the way for increased investment, growth, and innovation, driving the nation forwards. Now, allow us to move on to the next presenter. Thank you.
Thank you to the previous presenter. Hi and Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to Dr. Syaril Ishak. My name is Nur Ala Sabrina binti Muhammad Yusof. So now I'm going to talk more about why GST is failed in Malaysia. First, the failure of GST in Malaysia was largely because due to the public opposition and negative impression. The introductions of the GST resulted in a higher pricing for products and services, which frustrated the people. The real problems was not with the GST itself, but the inefficiency in the administration and collection, as well as the monetary leakage due to the corruption. In April 2015, the 6% GST was introduced in the country, generate protests and demonstration due to the public concerns about its regressive nature, excessively impacting low-income households and adding to an increase in the cost of living. For an instance, we can see that the implementations of the GST resulted in higher pricing for basics such as foods, such as onions, chilies, and potatoes, as well as transportation. Second point is inadequate education and public communication. The Malaysian government has been condemned for poor GST communication and education. A comprehensive public awareness campaign was lacking to tell individuals about the GST benefits and how it worked actually. This lack of comprehension contributed to the public's poor perception and opposition. For an instance, in the absence of a well-executed communication plan, Many Malaysians were unsure how the GST will affect them personally actually. Because of this lacking of knowledge, distrust and doubt grew, making it difficult for the administration to gain support for the reformation of the tax. Last but not least, the reason why GST failed in Malaysia is because of the economic impact and inflation concern itself. The GST was established in between a period of economic uncertainty, and worries were expressed regarding its possible influence on inflation and overall economic health. The tax contributed to an initial increase in the cost of goods and services, resulting in inflationary pressures. Price increases escalated widespread dissatisfaction. For an instant, the inflationary impact was seen in critical products such as food and transportation. Consumers suffered higher pricing for ordinary commodities, and this economic burden led to the GST bad reputation itself that caused why GST is failed in Malaysia. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you to the previous presenter. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. I am Nur Syahira Islin binti Ahmad Morsid. One of the members of this group will continue the presentation. What are the differences between GST and SST? Goods and services tax are known as GST, and sales and service tax are known as SST are both consumption tax, but they differ in their structures and methods of implementation. To be clear, GST is a broad-based consumption tax that is levied on the provision of goods and services at every stage of the supply chain. This indicates that businesses can collect GST on the value added to a product or service at each level of production and distribution, while for SST, it usually refers to the final stage of the supply chain, with an emphasis on the consumer. SST is often imposed on the final sale of goods and services rather than on the various phases of manufacturing and distribution. Next, in most cases, GST will be charged at a single or a few rates on all goods and services. In Malaysia, the GST rate for most products and services was initially fixed at 6%, which covered a wide range of consumer products, electronics, apparel, and numerous services, as well as costs for communication services such as mobile phone plans, data services, and also internet subscription. In Malaysia's SST system, for example, there are distinct rates for certain items and services, such as 10% for sale tax on particular goods, while 6% to 10% for service tax on specific service such as processed food and beverage, also for telecommunication services. Lastly, as for GST, tax imposed to each level of distribution, which are the manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers, and consumers, but the paid input tax are claimable by businesses, while for SST, the sales tax will only be imposed at the manufacturer or consumer level. So, the service tax is imposed to consumers who are actually using that tax services. That's all from me. Thank you.